There have been so many great NFL games this year. My favorite game, you remember that fantasy buffet, that 49ers-Rams Thursday night matchup?
Oh, that was a great game.
That was absolutely incredible. With the NFL Game Pass, you can replay that game from every angle. Whatever you want, whatever your favorite game is, the NFL Game Pass has got it. Every throw, every catch, every 2-minute drill. If it's NFL football and it happened, the NFL Game Pass has got it. Best of all, the NFL Game Pass is now available for just $49.99, the lowest price of the season. Go to NFL.com/fantasyfootballers.
Hi, this is Eric Dickerson, NFL Hall of Famer, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Playdraft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Doing very, very well this morning.
The playoffs, the fantasy playoffs.
They start tonight.
It begins.
I hope I win.
I hope I
Says
don't.
everyone.
I hope I don't run out of adult diapers.
You stock up. You go Costco.
Yeah.
Hit the Costco on
People
the adult
are like,
diapers.
oh, man. Are you either this guy's doomsday prepping,
Right.
or he's got a parent who's of an age and of a need, and I'm like, nope.
No, most people think,
Fantasy football.
that you would
These are
use
for Sunday.
that you would use those on the regular. You're more of a seasonal.
It opens up like a valve.
Oh, come on. Oh, that's Mike for you.
What just happened?
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. We are so proud of our podcast here. Andy, Mike, and Jason, the judge, producing today's episode.
Don't cut that out, Brooks.
And
Of course
don't cut
not.
that out. No. Mike, how old are you?
I am 13 years old.
Okay. We got a great episode today. It's jam-packed. News and notes, a great quick question, the fantasy forecast, so we'll preview the matchups for this week, Week 14, our starts of the week, and Jason's ever-famous Boom Boom Kicker of the Week. We're hoping that this week your Boom Boom Kicker does not instantaneously go on
the
IR.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Just because his production goes way down traditionally when that happens.
The evolution of the Boom Boom segment, this just this year alone, is a thing to behold.
Forward-thinking,
Yeah.
industry-changing phenomenon. That's what I would
Boom.
describe it as.
Boom.
All right. If you want to follow the show, you can do so on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Make sure you're watching us over on YouTube. Subscribe over on YouTube. We're waving at the camera right now. And shout out to all of the Foot Clan who have headed over to FootClanVote.com. If you didn't hear this yesterday,
Foot Clan assembled.
the Fantasy Sports Trade Association is giving away an award for the very best social media. And essentially it is a reflection of who's got the best fans in the industry. And all you have to do is go to FootClanVote.com and vote for the Fantasy Footballers social
Yes.
account. So
Please, Foot Clan, we do it. We're in this together.
we are. So we'll try to take that down. Take that down.
Yeah, well, and you know what?
What?
I'm putting this on the spot, but I don't know what it is yet. Just saying there will be a special reward for the fans if we're able to take that one
Well,
down.
we also have a reward right now at FootClanGiveaway.com.
Oh, so many rewards!
We're giving away 3 custom fantasy football jerseys from fantasychamps.com, and you can enter to win for free at FootClanGiveaway.com. This will run through Christmas, an opportunity to win a custom jersey with your fantasy football team name on it, and they're really cool. So thanks to Fantasy Champs for helping us out with that giveaway. Quick question of the day, guys. What are some tips to pulling an upset in the playoffs? Lots of people who snuck into the playoffs. Maybe they're coming up against a more difficult opponent. Are there any tips here, or is the answer just be happy you're playing fantasy football?
I'd say my number one tip, which we've been talking about this, is the little positions in the playoffs are even more important, and you've had time to prepare for them. Those defensive special teams pickups that we've been talking about, saying stash a few extra, look at the matchups. This isn't week 3 where the data on the DSTs is not the most accurate and most reliable because you only have 2 weeks. You have almost an entire season's worth of information now to base your defensive matchups. So now is the time. If you haven't yet, you got to do it now. If you're going into week 14 right now, plan like you are going to be in the championship week.
Yeah, I would also say, look, if you're the underdog, you snuck in. You're a low seed. That usually means you're playing the high seed. You need to essentially swing for the fences. This is where the time of the year where you don't just grab a guy to stash him, wait, and hold. You might grab a guy and say, look, Josh Gordon, perfect example. Hey, last week, first week, it looked like he was going to be the number 1 target. He's got a good matchup coming up this week. If this were week 2 in the NFL season or week 5, I would be saying, I'm not 100% bought in that he is going to be that number 1 target, just every single game. But now it's like, throw him in.
Right.
Don't get enamored with the bigger names that have let you down. If you're the underdog, go for those players who are fresh, are new, have a good matchup, and you can string together victories like that.
Do you avoid, as the underdog, players that you don't deem capable of giving you a ceiling, of giving you points that are rising like Bitcoin?
Well, nothing's rising that fast around.
But like Mike
fantasy,
Wallace, right? Mike Wallace on the year has no fantasy games above 14 fantasy points.
Yeah, so Mike Wallace is a good example of someone that maybe you wouldn't use because you don't have that. Now, I would be willing to start a guy who might not have the crazy ceiling if he had a secure floor. So like someone like a Duke Johnson, if you're in that poor, snuck into the playoff role and you need to fill a flex with kind of a guy that usually is going to be around 9-10 points, I'd be willing to do that, even though I don't think he has the crazy upside. But Mike Wallace, he doesn't have a floor. His floor is, he just didn't get targeted this game, and so he's got 0 points.
It's the parking garage underground.
It's the basement.
The nice thing is anybody can win. Look, 1 week, one set of matchups. We'll preview the games. We'll try to give you the hidden gems this week that might get you that sneaky matchup. Guys, I have a secondary question. When are we going to stop doubting Larry Fitzgerald in fantasy football? The 7th-ranked fantasy football wide receiver on the year. In case you're curious, Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, A.J. Green are the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy because people still doubt him. People still don't play him, and I would say one of the 3 of us, should make him our start of the week this week.
Oh, wow.
Genius.
I will take those lashes. When Carson Palmer went down, I thought that this was the end, the beginning of the end for Larry Fitzgerald. You had Drew Stanton, who was just gross, right? Like his play on the NFL field is gross. The fact that it went to Blaine Gabbert gave me a little bit more hope after the Stanton injury. But I thought Larry was done. I wanted to trade him wherever I had him. I thought he was going to have to retire. Well, not have to, but I thought he would choose to retire at the end of the year. But now he is re-signed for next year. So I was wrong on Larry. I apologize to you, Larry.
Alvin Kamara is now past Kareem Hunt on the season. He is 2 points better per game on the season than the Kareem Hunt first half
It's
explosion.
unbelievable.
It's funny. The second half is worth just as much as the first half.
Yeah.
One might argue more.
Yeah, one.
If you're in the playoffs,
It actually is worth
Yes.
more, assuming the first half doesn't kill you. All right, let's go ahead and jump into some more news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, I'm going to start with the headline this morning. Mark Ingram's supposed to play today. Okay, Mark Ingram took a couple days off. We didn't know whether that was a good or bad sign because of the game being on Thursday.
Right.
It looks like they were just giving him some time to recover,
And it was a toe injury, by the way.
Same as Antonio Brown was dealing with a toe injury. He did.
Did you see the picture of his toe?
Yeah.
I did not.
Oh,
I assume it
goodness.
was not a pleasure to look at.
Yeah,
No, it was like Swamp Monster's foot. I mean, it wasn't good.
No, that's not good. Yeah, when the news broke this morning that it was official that Mark Ingram was expected to, I didn't have my glasses on, and I was not sure which way it was going. I was like, oh no, Is he? Because I've got a lot of Ingram stock, so I'm happy that he's going to be out there tonight.
Do you remember that Swamp Thing?
You make my heart sing?
No.
Swamp Thing.
No. There was a TV show called Swamp Thing.
Yes,
You
because
make everything.
there is a superhero Swamp Thing.
That's what I'm talking about. Where I had an action figure and the arm would stretch really long.
No, he is one of the playable characters on the new DC fighting game. Yeah,
you can use Swamp Thing.
Justice?
Yeah, Injustice too. Yeah, my youngest Swamp Thing is his favorite character. He just
There
sits
you
there
go.
and he just mashes one button.
I just remember having the sweetest Swamp Thing toy as a kid.
Yeah,
So.
Swamp Thing and Toxic Crusader.
My heart sing.
You're welcome.
All right, Amari Cooper has cleared the concussion protocol but did not practice on Wednesday. Remember that Cooper is also coming back from an ankle injury.
Right. So this is not a guarantee that he actually plays.
Right. Now, you could have a situation where Crabtree and Cooper rejoin the wide receiver core this week in a juicy matchup against the team that gives up the most
This was the Cooper game.
big plays in football, the Kansas City Chiefs. You're right. It was the Cooper game.
On top of that, Marcus Peters, their stud cornerback, has been suspended by the team for launching the ref flag into the crowd.
All right, the Browns have fired their general manager, Sashi Brown, and have confirmed that Hugh Jackson will remain in return for the 2018 season and will not be fired. So that is the direction they're going. They're going to strengthen personnel. They're going to give Hugh Jackson another year. It'll be interesting to see what Hugh Jackson can do with Gordon and Coleman in another year. We'll see. All right, Will Fuller, they hope he'll return this week. You can't start him because Deshaun Watson's not the quarterback. Doug Martin was a full participant in Wednesday's practice. Mike, how does that make you feel with that Peyton Barber pickup yesterday?
My pickup of Peyton Barber
it was more
yesterday
dynasty.
Was more long-term, thinking of if they do cut Doug Martin in the offseason, which I think there is a chance that happens. As far as using Peyton Barber this week, you can't.
Yeah, not if Doug Martin is back.
Yeah, I still think that Barber will be worked in this week, which is going to eat into Doug Martin kind of being the primary guy. So I think that the timeshare will be closer, but you can't do anything.
It feels to me like
you panic flex Barber, I guess, but I would avoid that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I would more panic flex Doug Martin, but my hopes would be to play no Tampa Bay running back. Him coming back hurts the fantasy situation all around.
Chris Hogan returned to practice. If you remember weeks 2 through 5, Hogan had 5 touchdowns in that span. Was great. Now he's back at practice. Are you more excited about Josh Gordon over the playoffs or Chris Hogan returning?
Gordon, just because he's back, I don't necessarily expect Chris Hogan to play. They can rest him and get him fully recovered.
John Ross, first-round pick of the Bengals, has been placed on injured reserve.
When you say John Ross, it makes me giggle.
John Ross finishes the year with negative fantasy points.
0 catches for a wide receiver, 1 carry, and a fumble.
Yeah, I remember that play. He looked, I will say this genuinely, when he took that jet sweep, he looked very fast.
Yes, he is very fast.
Until he fumbled.
Okay. Marcus Peters, we talked about it. He's being suspended by the Chiefs. Okay. All right. You're in a tailspin. I don't know how suspending your best player works.
I mean, I get it that
Send a message.
you have to do something with Marcus Peters. This is not the first time that he has absolutely lost control. And if you watched what happened in this game, this man completely lost control of his all emotions in his body. And so you have to do something with the player for his future. And unfortunately, that's suspending him.
When you said lost control, you had me thinking about your Costco purchase again. All right, tomorrow, remember, on Friday, we go through in and out, and we'll give you all of the updates on every injured player and what you can do to prepare. Guys like Zach Ertz, who's still in the concussion protocol. Will Trey Burton get the start there? Joe Mixon didn't practice yesterday, but we obviously didn't expect him to, having the Monday night game. Will he be available this week, or will Gio Bernard be a solid start?
Right.
Sterling Shepard with the hamstring injury. Hunter Henry knee injury, not on the injury report. We'll update you on him, Kerwin Williams and AP, all of those guys tomorrow. The big news for you today, injury-wise, is the Mark Ingram news that he's supposed to play tonight. And the Saints are supposed to get Marshawn Lattimore back. That's great. That's great for the Saints secondary. That's great for their chance to slow Julio Jones, which is the goal, right?
Yep.
And what else do we need to say? Get your Thursday night players out of the flex. Don't forget it now in the playoffs.
Yes. Important time. Make sure you plug them into your running back slot or your wide receiver slot. Fill up those non-flexible roster spots first.
The inflexible one.
That was the word I was looking for. Inflexible? Is that a word?
So a good example would be if you have 3 great running backs and you're going to play Mark Ingram tonight, don't put him in the flex, put him in the running back spot so you can play a wide receiver just in case.
Just in case one of your other 2 running backs gets injured in practice.
Yeah, I really by the way, people coming out of the woodwork with their fun playoff stories, getting into the playoffs. A lot of people, they listen to you, Jason, which is, I mean,
shocking, I know.
I've set almost a life precedent that I don't do that, but I should because they listen to you. They're 0-5 teams, 0-4 teams, 1-6 teams. They didn't give up. And that's exactly what we said, what you said in week 5 and 6 when people were desperate and crying and weeping. And you said, do not give up because right now is the time that you can take advantage of the waiver wire. You can take advantage of other teams giving up. And
3
you can
weeks
make your
from
move.
now, we will get a ton of emails saying, oh my gosh, I started 0-4 or 1-5 or whatever the case was, and I just won the championship because I didn't give up.
#FootClan title.
#FootClan title.
If there's anything I learned from An American Tail, the classic cartoon, never say never.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever,
Anything
wherever you are.
that that happens. Can happen in reverse.
If there's anything I've learned from outer space on a quest across the galaxy, it's never give up. Never surrender.
Nice. Brooks, complete it.
Never surrender.
Yeah, all
there we
right.
go.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
I guess we'll talk about matchups
Basically what
now.
Jason just said, but you know what?
Yeah, I don't know what you're looking for.
I'm looking for an inspirational quote.
Fantasy Forecast.
You're looking for an inspirational quote?
Yeah. And Brooks just copied Jason.
It was
He didn't
incredible.
know. At least he
It
jumped
was-
in.
It was incredible. I mean, it was one of the more inspiring things I've heard.
Never surrender.
Never surrender.
All right.
Grip Thor's hammer.
We are in week 14. The Indianapolis Colts at 3-9. They travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. And we don't have a line in this game, and that's because we don't have a quarterback in this game. We don't know if Tyrod Taylor or Nathan Peterman are going to be the start, who will be the starter for Buffalo. We are in a situation now where you're looking at Buffalo still with a chance at the playoffs. I pumped the brakes on Charles Clay based on the fact that we don't know if Taylor's back and Clay hasn't been good since he's returned. He's still a little banged up. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're starting LaShawn McCoy, but outside of LaShawn McCoy, are there any must-starts on this this roster?
Must-starts, no. But Kelvin Benjamin has returned to limited practice. He is somewhat.
You can't start him.
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
No, you can't start Kelvin Benjamin. But I think that Zay Jones is at least he piques my interest because the Colts secondary is so bad, and they're pretty solid against the run, especially the last 6 weeks. They are ranked 8th of giving up points to the running back, but they're still down at 22nd for points to the wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get the matchup play. But if it's Nathan Peterman and Kelvin Benjamin is back, that combination says to me there's no pass catcher that I can play because then you've got Zay Jones and Kelvin Benjamin splitting targets that are poor targets from Nathan Peterman. A lot of questions. I know, Andy, you said, okay, you got to play shady. A lot of questions I've been fielding this week over, do I play him if Nathan Peterman plays? And
yes.
In almost every situation, it has been a yes. It's, in fact, every situation I've come up across so far, it's like, yeah, you're still going to play him.
Right.
Just temper your expectations.
He has the 5th most rushing yards in the NFL since week 10 at 305 rushing yards. McCoy is too involved in that offense. Now, it might not be a great day, but you cannot leave a guy. He's a lot like Julio, right? I mean,
Exactly.
Right.
You don't. Somebody yesterday was asking me, it's, Julio, I'm worried about that. I'm like, okay, if you want to lose with 235 yards on your bench, you can bench Julio. But that's not going to feel good.
No. It's going to feel bad.
That's going to feel bad.
I had a question that kind of put me on the spot. I said, okay, you always start Julio. You get the great matchups, you get the bad matchups. They had two other guys that were locked and loaded, and the question became Julio or Robbie Anderson. Where would you go in that?
Julio.
Okay. It's still Julio.
I mean, I would too.
Robbie Anderson is just full liquid magma at this time, but he does get the matchup against Denver, so I think I would stick with Julio.
All right, the other side, Brissett. He was throwing the ball deep when he started this year, but now over the last few weeks, he's throwing the ball deep the least of any quarterback in football. That doesn't help a guy that likes to go deep like T.Y. Hilton.
No, it doesn't. And man, Hilton is a great place to start here because how are you guys looking at T.Y. this week?
How I look at T.Y. is essentially he is the quintessential boom bust. He can get you absolutely nothing, or he could go out and get 25 points. So I am usually benching T.Y. Hilton. Now, the quick question of the day was if you're one of those just snuck in teams and you're playing against a great matchup, you might have a spot that needs a guy like T.Y. Hilton. That glory play that says, yeah, I'm gonna need a guy who can score 25, who can break off two screens that are taken to the house. But in most matchups, most playoff teams, I don't think you should be starting T.Y. Hilton because the risk is just too high of having a dud game.
Jack Doyle?
Yeah, the baby hands. I mean, he's been a little bit inconsistent these days.
But what tight end hasn't?
Yeah, very, very, very fair. But, coming off the game, only 16 yards. However, just 2 weeks ago, against Tennessee, 94 yards, 7 receptions. So
that's the difference.
In this tight end landscape, you still have to have Jack Doyle as a top 10 option, right?
See, that's the difference to me. Both T.Y. and Jack Doyle, boom, bust. They could do good. They could go away. But you have other options at wide receiver.
Superman.
Most of the time with tight ends, you just don't have
always a good option.
You don't have other good options. Before we move on to the next matchup, I want to tell you about the best option around for some of these Christmas gifts coming up, Sherry's Berries. We just got some ourselves in the office the other day. I can tell you right now, I ate all of the white chocolate-covered strawberries. Nobody else had a single one because they were unbelievably delicious. And I was talking to my wife about Sherry's Berries, because this is like the perfect gift. Everyone eats, and everyone loves treats. And these berries, they've got all sorts of the juiciest berries and other treats too, like chocolate truffles or cheesecake Christmas trees.
Man, this is your read.
This is my life, man.
This is my life.
The sweets, the treats. But I think it makes one of the best Christmas gifts for those people you don't know what to get them. You want to show, like, hey, you matter to me. I'm thinking of you this holiday season, but I don't want to send you something romantic necessarily, or I don't want to, this is a perfect gift for everyone. Right now, you can get a deal, just $19.99. You can get fresh and delicious Sherry's Berries dipped in white milk and dark chocolatey goodness. Or for just $10 more, you can double that and get a dessert platter. That's 2 gifts in one. So there's only one way to get the amazing $19.99 deal this holiday season. Visit berries.com. Click on the microphone in the upper right-hand corner and enter the code BALLERS at checkout. Remember, when you double the berries for just $10, you'll get a free keepsake dessert platter. That's berries.com, code BALLERS.
All right. I want to remind everybody, this won't come around again for a long time, and this is a special deal from Omaha Steaks. We want to thank them for sponsoring the show. You can order gifts for everybody on your list with one click of the mouse, and this is the package that we received this year. How amazing.
So meaty.
How meaty.
So meaty.
So incredible. The food is so good.
So meaty.
The deal's ridiculous right now. $49.99, you get the family gift pack when you go to omahasteaks.com and you enter the code FANTASY in the search bar.
Search bar, people. Click the search bar.
Yeah, if you want to know how to do it, click the search bar, type fantasy, you get 75% off. Just click the package. Here's what comes with it. 2 filet mignons, 2 topped sirloins, 2 boneless pork chops, 4 boneless chicken breasts, 4 kielbasa sausages, 4 burgers, 4 potatoes au gratin, 4 caramel apple tartlets, 1 Omaha Steak seasoning package, and 4 bonus kielbasa sausages for free. Go to omahasteaks.com. And again, enter that code FANTASY in the search bar and you get 75% off. I was distracted. Mike was doing a very nice Omaha Steaks dance during that read.
You need 2 breaths 2 breaths to complete that list of delicious meats. Incredible.
All right. The Vikings and Panthers, another great matchup this week. This one's in Carolina. A lot of question marks. Look,
great NFL matchup.
What did I say?
But I'm making
yes,
sure that
great NFL matchup. Yes.
Not the best for fantasy football.
Well, yeah, 41-point over-under. Vegas has it as a lower-scoring game. You have 2 great defenses, and that's the focus here. All season long, these defenses have been great, and Minnesota's taken it up a notch against wide receivers over the last 6 weeks. So there are a lot of question marks because we talk about this. You head into the playoffs. You've got certain players with certain matchups. How confident can we be in them? You know, how do you temper expectations? How do you project something like the Minnesota running game? Latavius Murray, Jerick McKinnon, a split backfield against Carolina's number 1 ranked run defense over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's extremely rough. I would roll. I still have some confidence in Latavius Murray in that workload. He's playing extremely well. Because I believe that the Vikings will be in control of this game, and they will do their best to ride Latavius Murray and grind out the clock. However, I still have faith. I still have belief in Adam Thielen, the elite wide receiver who came out of nowhere. Because the Panthers defense, for all of how stout they are, they're still ranked 21st over the past 6 weeks in points given up to the wide receiver position. So I still have confidence going out of Thielen. Probably not so much with Stephon Diggs at this point.
Nice thing is we've seen Case Keenum play at an elite level, 74% completion percentage since week 10. Jason, you've already started kind of doing your bronze work to put him in the Hall of Fame.
I was filling in Mike because Mike was gone last week, and he was unaware of my off-the-show, in the office, Case Keenum love affair I was having, looking up all of his stats and his play. I really have been a big fan. That's why I agree with Mike. Adam Thielen, he's just a must-start. I don't care the matchup. He's had such a great rapport with Case Keenum, and Case Keenum's been good. I agree with Latavius Murray. Stephon Diggs is still a flex-worthy player.
When I said I'm not benching him, I just am not confident.
But Diggs
flex,
is much better at home.
This
is a road game in a tough matchup. So
Diggs is the kind of player that if he pops, you're going to have those upsets because he's the kind of player that at least has shown the potential to be a top 5 wide receiver on the right week. But you're right. You've got to temper those expectations. The one place that the Panthers can get beat is a little bit through the air. Keenum at a high level, but they're on the road. This game matters for both teams. The Vikings fighting for the 1 seed. The Panthers just coming off the loss to the Saints, fighting to
just to be
stay in the playoffs. Yeah. They're at home. Where's our confidence level with the other side of the ball? Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey running a lot better as an actual running back. And then Mike.
I had to do it.
You buried him.
I had to pump the brakes.
Devin S. Scrumptious. Not so scrumptious this week, huh?
No, look, I'm going with Xavier Rhodes. I feel confident him shutting down Devin Funchess. The only guy on this Carolina offense that I have any confidence starting right now in this matchup would be Christian McCaffrey. And that's because it's just he's safe with his target level is safe for a baseline. Maybe he rips off a big run, and maybe this is a lot. I'm throwing a lot of maybes. I apologize, but Cam Newton is startable only if you are banking on the rushing yards in this matchup. He's rushed for 174 yards since week 10. The Vikings have been a little bit leaky against running quarterbacks, but the passing yards will not be there for Cam Newton.
There's that Costco trip again.
Yeah, he is Cam Newton's a low-end quarterback one. He could very much disappoint, but the rushing yards make him secure. I am not quite as down on Devin Funchess as you are. I see him as that low-end wide receiver 2 this week, which means in most games he's going to be starting.
That's not a big difference maker, though. Like you still start him, but you're not expecting big things.
Right.
And then for context, we have Cam Newton as our consensus number 10 quarterback on the week. If you go to the Fantasy Footballers, click on the rankings tab, you can see all of our rankings. If you have a start-sit decision, you can kind of see where we're at, and we update those all through the year and all through the week as we get more news and information.
And we even have flex rankings up there for all the Foot Clan out there. So if you've got a decision between positions, and we can't answer every Twitter question. We try, but we can't. The answers are out there.
The truth is out there.
The truth is out there.
Oh, Mike, you let me down big time there.
I don't
Big time.
Here, true story. I did not watch the X-Files. Very impressive.
That's what you need.
I'm very impressed.
That's what you
right
should have
now.
had. All right. Greg Olsen. He's practicing in full.
Yeah.
Can't start him, can you?
Nope.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't
The
think
Bears take on the Bengals. 37.5 point over under in Cincinnati.
If you are-
exciting.
Is this
If
is
you're
this-
uninitiated with the line, a 37.5 point over-under is exceptionally low. Vegas is saying not that many points are going to be scored this game.
Is it possible, though, that this is a reflection of not knowing what's going on with Joe Mixon? I mean, this game's in Cincinnati, and I know that the Bears' defense is all right, but they haven't been very good lately. And, look, you can't be very good when your offense is giving the other team short fields all throughout the game. And right now, the Bears, 25th against the fantasy wide receiver, 19th against the running back. They're not doing anything special. I'm really surprised that the line for the total points is that low. I feel like out of that 37.5, that must be like 35 points to the Bengals and 2.5 points to the Bears.
Yeah, I read into it that it's mostly they don't believe the Bears can score against the Bengals regardless of the injuries. I had a Twitter question because I recommended the Bengals DST as a great play this week. I mean, they have a number of injuries and possible suspensions and all these things mounting, but I still feel very, very comfortable playing the Bengals at home. I think that the spread reflects that they think the Bengals will put up some points and that the Bears will put up close to none because Mitch Trubisky is just not getting it done, and if they can't count on Jordan Howard to carry the offense, which
I wanted to pick Jordan Howard this week as somebody I believe that could break out, and I don't.
Bengals in the last 6 weeks, 29th, and giving up points to fantasy running backs.
They really have. I mean, they've been some of the injuries in the secondary for the Bengals this game might open up a little bit of passing opportunities.
Well, it's not just,
Mitchell Trubisky will make sure that doesn't happen though.
But Perfect, we expect Perfect to be out at this point.
Yeah,
open up the middle.
It's still to be seen, but yeah, he could miss the game. Look, I know it's difficult because that's 2 weeks in a row that's bad games from Jordan Howard, but the matchup, the statistics, they say that this is a good matchup for Jordan Howard, despite the fact that the Bengals are a good defense.
So were the 49ers.
No, I get it. No, that's what I'm saying. Your confidence is low, but I still think you have to start Jordan Howard because there's going to be very few teams that have a third option better than Jordan Howard.
Well, you got to look at waiver guys this week. So let's say Mike Davis.
That's a good point.
Mike Davis or Jordan Howard?
I would go Jordan Howard.
Yeah, I think I would play Howard in that situation.
A mix-and-list Gio Bernard
in this same
or
game.
Jordan Howard.
Yeah, in this same game, I'm playing Gio unless I'm in a full standard league.
I would as well.
Right.
It's crazy. By the way, John Ross, follow up on that injury, for you dynasty holders. Marvin Lewis said that he's been hiding the injury from the team for this year. So that might explain a lot of why we've gone through what we've gone through with John Ross, trying to get back on the field, not performing. He had this shoulder surgery, and this is a shoulder injury. So we'll see what happens.
That was the knock coming out of college.
Yes.
The biggest knock on John Ross was not his football play. It was his injury history. I mean, when he broke the record at the 40 time, he got injured on that record-breaking run. Do you remember? He came up limping on that.
When you break the sound barrier, can't expect the body to hold up.
All right. Other headlines from this game, anybody you want to bring up, or are we moving on?
I think that Andy Dalton is a fine stream.
Man, he looked good for half that game.
He looked sensational.
And the truth, they lost Mixon, and things kind of turned on their head. You had a drop by A.J. Green when they were moving him down the field, had a chance to win that game still. All right.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine streaming Andy Dalton this
Agree.
week.
The 6-6 Packers take on the 0-12 Browns.
They're 500.
In my opinion.
It's funny. I thought you were going to be surprised that the Browns are still winless.
No, that doesn't shock anybody. Poor Browns. Oh, no!
Andy's almost upset of the week.
Calling it now, the Browns get the first win. And throw a wrench into everybody's Aaron Rodgers hopes.
I was holding up my finger to signify pause because if I didn't give you the line, who would you say is favored in this game?
The Packers on the road with the Browns.
I mean, I would call that pretty close to a pick 'em.
It's
Yeah.
not, though.
I know. I'm
3.5
not
point
disparaging
favorites
your
for the-
pick.
When an 0-12 team is facing a 6-6 team and they're underdogs by 3.5 at home, I think calling for their first win is pretty fair.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right, Andy. This would throw a massive wrench into all the Aaron Rodgers hopes, all the Jordy Nelson hopes, a lot of people picking those players up. So if you've got them, if you've picked them up, you are rooting against Andy's almost upset this week, and you will be rooting for the Packers because Aaron Rodgers isn't coming back if the Packers are out of the playoffs.
Packers defense has allowed 275 receiving yards per game since week 10. Second worst in the league. Josh Gordon.
Oh, my goodness, Josh Gordon.
I think we're going to see something special this week.
We
and
are
I think
gonna
it's going to make me cry because I traded him in our Dynasty League.
We are going to talk about him again later, but perhaps we should just talk about him now. I'm so excited for Flash Gordon, the perfect matchup, the perfect quarterback for this. I mean, this is George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg territory here. Perfect storm. Deshaun Kaiser has thrown deep balls on 22% of his pass attempts since week 10. That's the most, or that's the highest percentage in the league. We know that Kaiser's looking for that big play. We know that Josh Gordon built his career. The reason Josh Gordon is still in the NFL is because he can hit the big plays. We know that the Packers defense are giving up over 275 receiving yards per game. This is I'm feeling
Now-
verklempt over here. I'm so excited for Josh Gordon this week.
It's worthwhile to say we thought that at home in Lambeau that, Tampa could do damage against that Green Bay defense, and you didn't see Evans and Deshaun Jackson
That's why
go
I
crazy.
called Jameis Winston Chunk from the Goonies, because Jameis Winston, when things are lined up for him, he lets you down.
He still had a fine game. It's just the touchdowns went to Cameron Brate, the tight end, instead of going to Mike Evans or Deshaun Jackson. So let's talk about Gordon, because I do believe there's a lot of teams in the playoffs, smart owners. They've picked up Gordon because they're smart owners, but now they've got that trouble. They're not the teams that snuck in. They've got a solid team, but they're wanting to throw this massive boom player Josh Gordon out there. If I am that team, I'm worried about that. I don't have the confidence that you have. First game back, hyper-targeted. If we see it rotate back to Corey Coleman or more of a split this week, I won't be surprised.
I would be very surprised.
And so Andy, you be the tiebreaker here. Do you expect it to just be essentially the Josh Gordon show?
100%.
And
I
are
do.
you willing to start him if you're a solid fantasy team? Are you willing to start him over? I'm
going to throw out some names for you guys.
All right, and I'm very bullish on Mr. Gordon this week.
All right, Marvin Jones
Gordon
against
by
the
far.
Buccaneers.
Gordon.
I would definitely go Marvin Jones.
Same game, Devontae Adams.
Gordon.
I would go Adams.
Sterling Shepard.
Gordon.
With Eli back.
Shepard.
And then Des Bryant in New York against the Giants.
Gordon.
Des Bryant. Wow.
I'll water bet you against all four of those.
Oh, my goodness.
Sure, yeah.
Do we have on Brooks? Did you write that down?
Waterbet.
This
Jones-
has to be the easiest bet of all
Hold
time.
on. That's Tiger Woods versus the field type of a bet. But we got Devontae Adams, Marvin Jones, Sterling Shepard, Des Bryant.
100 and a touchdown for Gordon this week.
See, yeah.
Whew. All right, but this is playoffs, so you get it wrong, you're out.
I have to stand up because I want people to win.
All
on
right.
the back of this advice.
I will say this, Andy. Historically, I hate to do this. Historically, come these playoff weeks, you've been great.
Oh.
So, I hate to say that. It pains everything in me. But you've been great. So that
We're on a team, fellas.
No, we are. The first 2 weeks
But a
last
team
year,
like three brothers.
you were
would
the
be on
first
a
and
team.
second ranked guy, and your intuition it steps up during these playoff weeks. So it gives me a little bit more confidence in Mr. Flash Gordon.
They're not going to be able to stop him.
No.
I don't
Still
think they-
taking that water bet though. I
You
got 4 dogs in the race.
I knew it was your kind of bet to make. I knew I could get an answer.
Now, on top of that, so I like Corey Coleman as a wide receiver. The thing is, with Deshaun Kaiser, Jason got very interested in that moment.
Sorry, I'm just going back to this water bet because I will take 4 cups.
Yes.
No.
If he
There.
beats
Yes.
the field, If he beats all four, I'm taking 4.
You'll take
spins
one cup
that
per
wheel of
guy
water.
that Gordon beats.
You're not well.
If
he beats all four.
If he beats all four.
All right, go on.
Say that.
Josh Gordon has just been suspended. Just kidding. Just kidding. That is not a real
I like
news
Corey
alert.
Coleman, but I think that Deshaun Kaiser can't sustain multiple wide receivers for fantasy value. But the question then is David Njoku, who has been surging. It's just such classic Cleveland Browns, right? You move up in the first round to get David Njoku as an absolute monster of a man. And it takes you until week 13 or week 14 to figure out how to actually use this tight end.
That might not just be the Browns, though. I mean, it's very, very common for rookie tight ends.
Evan Ingram says, what?
Well, they lost all their weapons, and Evan Ingram is also not a tight end. So he didn't have to learn all the blocking schemes. He's just a wide receiver that lines up next to the offensive line.
He learned them.
Sure, but David Njoku they use as a multi-purposed tight end, so it's more difficult to get integrated. Also, he plays for the Browns.
The Packers side, look, the Browns, they started the year.
So do you guys have confidence? Let's say you lost Ertz, you lost Gronk. Well,
Yes, I would.
don't know on
I'd
Ertz
be
yet.
willing to give Njoku
Okay.
a shot in
All
this one. On the other, so by extension, then I guess the question is Deshaun Kaiser.
I think he's streamable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He's ranked appropriately for that as well.
The Browns, here's an example where the getting last 6-week data is really important because the Browns on the year are still the 10th ranked running defense, but over the last 6 weeks, they're the 24th ranked. They give up 23 fantasy points per game, and Jamal Williams has been cruising.
You start him. No questions.
Okay. Guys, give me your take on the 49ers and Texans. This game's in Houston. Garoppolo gets another shot. Carlos Hyde, Marquise Goodwin, the lead wide receiver there in San Francisco. The wide receivers for the 49ers have averaged 11.7 yards per target since Week 10. That's best in the league. That's Marquise Goodwin at his best. Can you start Goodwin this week, Jason? Are you on board?
I think you should start Goodwin this week. He's a player to me that is undervalued because of the team that he's on, and his name is not one that going into draft season anybody cared about. I see Marquise Goodwin as basically a low-end wide receiver too, so similar to what we were saying about Devin Funchess. He's not a guy that I'm saying you every lineup, get him in over everybody, but he should be started. Whatever team has him, there needs to be a consideration of who is he better than another option that you might have there. Marquise Lee has been really hot, for example. People have been starting him. Marquise Lee's playing Seattle. I'd much rather have Marquise Goodwin over Marquise Lee.
That's bold.
So it's tough. Marquise Goodwin has shown every single game this year, whether he's had a good fantasy game or not, that he can beat the defense. He might get missed on a pass. Now you have an accurate quarterback that I think is streamable in Garoppolo.
Wow.
And
I
a
agree.
plus matchup here.
You think that Garoppolo's streamable?
Yes, I do. He showed me enough last week that I think that Garoppolo is actually a good quarterback, and the Houston Texans.
I'm not
defense
shaking
is
my head
rough.
with like
disgust.
Yeah, I'm not shaking it with. I'm
You're
just
not
shaking
leaking?
it. I'm shaking it with confusion because I just don't know if Garoppolo is ready to go on the road on a 2-10 team and give you fantasy numbers. That's what I don't know. And the Texans, their defense has been bad, so I know that confidence is there. Savage gives you short fields. Maybe you're right. Maybe he's a top. Is he a top 12 guy?
No, he's not a top 12 guy. In my rankings, would it shock me if he ends up in that 10 to 12 range?
But
on the
you
week?
want
no, not
you
at
want
all.
Cam Newton over Garoppolo.
Yes.
Cam Newton against Minnesota.
I know. I don't know.
You are
I honestly don't know.
by far the fieriest man in this office. I mean,
Yeah,
both
maybe.
with your hair and with your
But listen,
cojones.
listen
You're
to
willing to
these
start
numbers.
these guys.
Listen to these numbers. For Jimmy Garoppolo, this is the defense he's facing. The Houston Texans the last 6 weeks, 32nd against the quarterback, also known as the most points allowed per game. Wide receiver, 28th. Tight end, 30th. Where are they cutting down?
Wasn't
On
that
the running back.
32nd best, right? Isn't that what Jason
Yeah,
taught
that,
us
as Jason
yesterday?
would say. The only thing that can stop is the running back, and so that you're still expecting. You're
look,
expecting passing
You're a
yards.
little verklempt?
Yeah, you're
Yes.
expecting passing yards. You're going to beat Houston in the passing game. You brought it up over the last 6 weeks. They've been bad. They've given up
Not just bad.
No, to the quarterback. They've given up 13 touchdowns in the last 6 weeks. That's averaging more than 2 a game to the quarterback. If Garoppolo throws 2 touchdowns, I know he's going to have enough yards to have a really
He
successful
put up
fantasy
almost 300 yards on the road at playing against the Bears. And the Bears are way better than the Texans.
game at the passing game, yes.
If you flip it, look at the 49ers defense over the last 6 weeks. 9th against the quarterback, 4th against the running back,
Yeah,
3rd
are these
against the wide
numbers
receiver.
real?
That can't be true. No, it is. It is true.
That's crazy.
And look, they're giving up some to the tight end right now. But the Texans, they don't have Bruce Ellington. C.J. Fedorowicz is gone. I have to talk about Steven Anderson now because I don't get to later because Mike took him. Mike took him from me for the starts of the week. But Steven Anderson, I love Steven Anderson this week. The Texans, the tight ends have been targeted 37 times since week 10, essentially the Savage era.
Yep.
And that's third most in the league. And Steven
Necessity.
Anderson is great.
Now-
Necessity is the mother of all invention.
Exactly. Now, is necessity going to be the same level as it's been, in the Savage era? Sure, except in the Savage era, that's been a Will Fullerless era for the most part. If Will Fuller comes back, are you worried at all about Hopkins being hyper-targeted or Steven Anderson getting, a large percentage of the targets? If Fuller comes back and gets 4 or 5 targets, that's it. Does that make an impact on Steven Anderson or
It can have an
Hopkins?
impact, but the deep threat for Tom Savage taking away for him being a coward and throwing to the tight end multiple times, I'm not letting that affect my judgment.
No, I don't expect much from Fuller, and I don't think you're going to see more targets to Fuller than you were seeing to Bruce Ellington.
Yep.
And they've still been the third most targeted team in
Yeah, I
terms
guess
of
you
the tight
get
end.
Fuller back, you lose Ellington. So
Yeah,
it's
you don't
kind of
have
a wash.
Ellington. Lamar Miller, we love him this week against the 49ers at home.
Yeah, he's been super consistent. I realize the
I'm
49ers
okay with him.
The 49ers over the last 4 games have given up exactly 0 rushing touchdowns, which is very much not what the 49ers have been over the last year and a half. So kudos to the Niners. But I think on the road in Houston, Lamar Miller gets enough volume to be secure as a really solid must-start play this week.
All right, let's talk about the Raiders and Chiefs playing for the top of this division. Yesterday, I had to leave work a little early. Had to go into the dentist. Had to get a cavity filled. First time I've done that in about 10 years. Reminded me a lot of starting Kareem Hunt these days. Wasn't pleasant. Wasn't fun.
But you
I
felt
had to do it.
Probably for the best.
Probably for the best. Had to do it.
he's not a cavity.
No, he's a filling.
No, he's a filling. He's treating a cavity.
Kareem.
The bad dream I'm hearing.
Kareem.
I mean, do we want to focus on the sad in this matchup, or do we want to focus on the good?
This is such a good matchup for him. I mean, look, last week when a lot of people were saying Kareem's going to get it together, I was trying my best to pump the brakes because even though the New York Jets looked like a good matchup since they're a bad team, they were second best against running backs over the previous 6 weeks at that point. They were not a good matchup for Kareem Hunt. The worry is not so much the matchup. Now, the matchup is so much better, right? Because the Raiders, the one thing that they are bad at defending is NFL players. And so Kareem Hunt
is in the NFL.
He is in the
He's
NFL.
in the
So
NFL.
I'm fine with the matchup. The matchup is great. I love it. All, guns a-blazing. I'm happy. Here's the new question. It's the opportunity.
Yeah, that's
Will
the destruction.
Kareem Hunt actually get the ball? They have a new play caller calling plays this last game, and it got worse for Kareem Hunt.
Well, and then you had bombs. I mean, you had Kelsey twice, Tyreek twice. They didn't get down in the red zone.
I feel like if Kareem is, trying to fill the cavity, that makes Andy Reid just like this giant piece of candy, like with an evil face who just wants to rip holes in all your teeth.
Look, I'm not going to go back into the dental metaphor at this point, but I think that Kareem Hunt The odds are still with him having some red zone opportunities in this game, but I'm hesitant. He's not Alvin Kamara anymore. He's not a stud. Right now, he's a player that you have to weigh your options. Mike, you're choosing Kareem Hunt or Rex Burkhead this week. And you're going Burkhead?
Yeah.
Your start of the week, Rex Burkhead?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. That's exactly when I walked in, they said, Andy Holloway, come on back. I said, yeah. Yeah, it's me. All right, Crabtree, he's back. I love him. We're going to start him.
Yes.
Derek Carr, I love him. We're going to talk about him in a minute.
Really?
Marshawn Lynch. Yes.
Oh,
really?
I love it.
Marshawn Lynch.
Okay.
Jared Cook, go away. I don't want to talk to you.
Really?
I don't want to see you. I'm not going to predict you. I can't predict you.
I'm with Andy on that.
I mean, he was a start of the week last week in the best possible situation you could ever imagine. No Crabtree, no Cooper. Terrible tight end defense. Poop the bed. Goodbye. Good riddance. See you later. Whatever the cook is cooking, I'm not eating.
I mean, it's been back just quick on Derek Carr. It's been since week 7, which, to your credit, I mean, that was the game against Kansas City when Amari Cooper exploded. Since that time, though, he's had more than one passing touchdown once.
Yes, that is true.
He's been bad for fantasy.
He's been bad for fantasy, and this is the salve. This is what I'm going with. Tyreek Hill, locked and loaded. Travis Kelce, the number 1 tight end on the year, locked and loaded. Alex Smith, are you starting?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am starting Alex Smith. I think he's a top-end quarterback 1 with this matchup.
So in this matchup, would you rather have Smith or would you rather have Derek Carr?
I'd rather go with Smith, I think, coming off of last week.
I would as well. Now, before you push a button to move on, I want to ask a couple Kareem, because I know my Twitter is going to be flooded, as it has been the last few weeks, of Kareem Hunt. Well, what about this situation? I want to ask you guys a couple of players, Kareem Hunt or this guy, and who would you start? Kareem Hunt against Oakland or Samaje Perine against the Los Angeles Chargers?
Ooh, that's an excellent
Perine.
question.
I have Perine ahead as well.
Perine.
Okay, Kareem Hunt or Leonard Fournette against Seattle?
Also an excellent question.
Thank you. I'm trying my best.
I think I'd go
Hunt.
I'd go Kareem Hunt as
I
well.
did as well. Final question.
It's also the injury.
Yes,
These weird injury histories.
Weird injury
whatever.
history
You're
for
fine.
Leonard Fournette. Kareem Hunt or Kenyon Drake against New England?
Ooh,
I would take Kenyon Drake.
Drake.
I went Hunt in that one, so
That
we're
was-
almost
alive.
in agreement.
These conversations should never have.
No, they should. Andy Reid, this is your fault.
You big old piece of candy.
Starts of the week.
My start of the week, Kareem Hunt. No.
That start of the week drop sounds a little like it's got a little baseball feel to it, Mike.
It's
Kind of feels like the guy on the organ is playing a little.
So you
it's
need to update
also
it.
from horse racing.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, that makes sense. American pastimes.
Yeah,
horse racing,
things
baseball,
that people liked in the
Boxing.
1930s.
boxing.
Right.
I'm gonna go see the ponies.
Get a
right.
box of peanuts. See? Maybe a Cracker Jack.
Maybe one, a singular.
One? He's never had a cracker.
There's a prize
box
in the
of-
box, see?
It's a sticker.
I don't know whether to let him go and force us to edit this show later on or continue down the starts of the week. Starts of the week, quarterback. I'm going Derek Carr. I just talked about him. Kansas
right.
City is reeling. There's no Marcus Peters. They give up the most explosive plays. That's 15-plus yard passing plays, and both Crabtree and Cooper could be back. And even if just Cooper is back, you've got enough weapons, enough big playability with Cordero Patterson, Seth Roberts, and the weapons there. I'm going in on Derek Carr.
All right.
Yeah.
Johnny Holton, yeah.
I'm going to go with a quarterback who is not a great NFL quarterback in my opinion, but a very solid fantasy play. It's Jameis Winston.
Wow, you're downgrading him to a bad quarterback?
I said not very good.
Okay.
So
I
I think he's well, for NFL purposes, I think he makes too many mistakes. He can throw a great ball. He's got a great arm. He's got the tools, but he makes so many mistakes that I would just say as a franchise, I don't think I'm going to win games because of him. So that,
right.
But for fantasy, when he throws a pick and it goes for 6, he's got to get back out on the field and throw the ball more and score more touchdowns. He's been really solid this year in every single game that he has finished. if he hasn't gotten injured and left, he's been essentially a quarterback one. He's got a great matchup here against Detroit, who has been giving up a lot of points lately. There's no weather concerns. Right. He's got his weapons back. I think Jameis Winston, to me, is a guy that, I mean, you could probably find him on some waivers, and possibly. He is on those teams that are sneaking in. He's got the chance for that 3-touchdown, lot of yardage type of game.
Carr, Winston, Mike.
Mine is, while he's my start of the week, I tried to take this opportunity because we give our streams on Tuesday. This is another guy who I love, and as a streaming quarterback this week, it's DeShone Kizer. Since week 8, he has averaged more points per game than Matt Ryan. He's right on par with Drew Brees. He gets to play against Green Bay. Flash Gordon, we already discussed him at length, and the emergence of Njoku. And look, maybe Corey Coleman catches a pass or two. The running ability, the deep play ability. I like Kizer as a streaming option this week.
At running back, I'm going with Samaje Perine. We just talked about him. Perine, look, the Chargers, they're dead last against the run. Perine also catches a few passes. If you watch Marshall out of the backfield trying to fill in for Chris Thompson, he stinks. Perine will be heavily involved. I like him this week. I think you can roll him out there.
Yeah, my running back start of the week this week is Lamar Miller. Against the San Francisco 49ers, it's a great matchup. At home, favored. Those are the type of backs you look for. And he's just been so consistent because of the volume. He's had in week 10, a couple weeks ago, in a half-point scoring format, he was under 10 points, under that double-digit threshold you try to get to, with 9. So he was pretty close. But if you look on the season, it was week 3. Before that, he is as consistent as it gets, but I think this is the type of matchup where you might actually have some ceiling in addition to the consistency. He can score touchdowns on the ground. He can catch a screen pass, score them that way. So I think Lamar Miller's a guy that you must start on every roster this week.
My start of the week at the running back position is the Rex Burkhead, the Rex Goathead, as some call him, mostly just me and a few other people. Coming off back-to-back weeks of multiple touchdowns. And this is, I know a lot of people are looking, of course I'm starting Rex Burkhead, but there's a lot of teams that you already had running back depth. And you were
Kareem Hunt, Burkhead, exactly, your dynasty league.
And you grabbed Burkhead off of the waiver wire. Rex Burkhead is in my top 12 at this moment.
There you go.
In time.
Michael Crabtree is my wide receiver start of the week. Look, it makes sense with the Derek Carr situation. No Marcus Peters. It's time for liftoff for that offensive passing attack. I think that you have a game that could be a very explosive matchup between the Chiefs and the Raiders in terms of points put up. A lot of opportunity in the passing game, especially with the Chiefs kind of putting up a lot of points last week even though they lost. Crabtree, I'm sticking him right with Derek Carr and my starts of the week. Jason, who's your start of the week at the wide receiver position?
I talked about it earlier, but Larry Fitzgerald, he doesn't get enough respect. I get questions all the time. Should I start Larry? Should I start, someone like Jarvis Landry? Larry Fitzgerald at home has been an absolute beast. This is a solid matchup. It's a great play. I would start him in DFS. I'd start him in every lineup. These two guys that I just said, Lamar Miller, Larry Fitzgerald, they're not digging super deep, but they are saying you are making a huge mistake if you think, don't get cute. Don't get cute and put in, like, for instance, Josh Gordon. I'm not starting Josh Gordon over Larry Fitzgerald, even though Josh Gordon's the new hotness.
Yeah, that's fine.
And Larry is kind of like, oh, he's just so boring. Well, bore your way into a bunch of fantasy points and another week in the playoffs.
And it was already mentioned, but my wide receiver start of the week is Josh Gordon, coming off of 11 targets. Hadn't played football in basically 3 years. Comes right into 11 targets.
Yeah, they're going to give him every opportunity, in my opinion.
And he gets Green Bay. I mean, Andy went with the Raiders stack. I'm going with
the Browns stack.
The much revered.
You mean the team that's going to get their first win this week?
Yep, Cleveland Browns stack. Josh Gordon.
All right, Mike, you stole my tight end start of the week, so I'm going with Hunter Henry. Little disappointing last week, but Keenan Allen has been catching 12, 11, 10 passes. I don't think he's going to be able to go as crazy this week against the Washington passing defense. And Washington, look, they sacrifice a little bit to the tight end position because they can cover the wide receiver a little bit better. Washington's 28th against the tight end. Hunter Henry's more than capable, and this offense is moving for Los Angeles.
Ooh, nice catch.
Thanks. Jason. You are up next.
Yes, I'm gonna complete the trifecta of stacks. I am stacking my tight end this week with Jameis Winston and going with Cameron Brate. Cameron Brate was a top 6 tight end when he had Jameis Winston. And, there was all the concern of, O.J. Howard is the one stepping up. It wasn't O.J. Howard. It was the fact that when Fitzpatrick was there, he did not use the tight end much. He didn't use Cameron Brate hardly at all, especially in any games that he actually started. You had the one game where he took over and Brate was in the game plan and he used him. Outside of that, Brate was uninvolved. Now Winston comes back, and all he does is throw 2 touchdowns to Cameron Brate. I think Cameron Brate's a guy on waivers, like some of these other guys we've mentioned, Steven Anderson, that you could pick up and play this week with success.
My start of the week is Steven Anderson. Gets a take on San Francisco.
See?
He has stolen the crown from Charles Clay. He is the new, improved Mr. Necessary. Yeah, so I love him as a streamable option for those who are in tight end need.
All right. Without further ado, the most anticipated, important, crucial, life-changing segment of the week.
Rhyme of the week.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
The rhyme this week is a little terrible, but lace them up with Steven Gostkowski. You rhyme, Gostkowski.
Good work, Jason.
Thank you.
Once again, forging a new trail for this show, for this podcast.
To the moon!
Bringing it into the future. You'll be looked at like a visionary at one point in time.
Someday.
Some point in time.
Terrible and Gostkowski.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's nothing if not
work.
true.
Look, Foot Clan, want to remind you about today's sponsor, the NFL Game Pass. This is the tool that we use to review film. It's so easy. Everything is on there. Every game, every throw, all the 2-minute drills. Look, NFL Game Pass has it. It can take your fantasy game to a new level. The NFL Game Pass is available now for just $49.99, the lowest price of the season. You can sign up now at NFL.com/fantasyfootballers. That's NFL.com/fantasyfootballers.
All right, that is it for today's episode. We'll round out the rest of the matchups, injury reports tomorrow. And good luck to you as your Week 14 playoff matchups begin tonight. Alvin Kamara and company. It'll be a fun one.
Draft.com/ballers. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.